Why is it the ethics course that is the most viewed?
First of all, practically ethics is like one of the requirements in certain states. Aside from that, um, I do have a background. I like ethics. I do have a religious background as well. But aside from my religious background, the course it's really an interesting course. I thought it was going to be kind of dry. I was nervous about creating an ethics course, but I found a book called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. It's by a social psychologist. His name is Jonathan Haidt. He's pretty well known. And basically, he talks about the psychology of moral decision making. So, in this course, I take the APTA Code of Ethics and the AOTA Code of Ethics, and I demonstrate that there are a lot of gray situations where we kind of plug in the gaps with our intuition, and then we can rationalize why we made our decision. And sometimes we have, or often, there are two ways to go in terms of how to rationalize it. So in my course, I present like gray situations that I encountered. And then I ask the audience participants, okay, what is right and what is wrong in this situation? And I show them two sides and how you can view it from two perspectives. And it's not so clear cut. So yeah, I get a lot of amazing feedback on the course. I love giving it. I thought it wasn't going to be so much fun giving it, but it happens to be definitely most viewed course. And I actually love giving the course because I get a lot of participation. I ask like poll questions throughout, just getting audience participation, and people get really heated about this stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
They do? And again, because I've never been a PT. I've never been a PT, so I don't know. Like, what do they get so heated about?
So one question is like, are you let a? So here's a classic ethics question that's not as clear as you might think in the APTA Code of Ethics. Let's say a patient offers you a tip on the last visit. Are you allowed to accept the money or not? Okay, so some people are like, no, I won't accept any money from patients. And then I follow up, will you accept food from a patient? Like, let's say a patient brings in cookies. Would you accept that from a patient? So a lot of PTs will say, yes, they will accept food. Then I ask, okay, what's the difference between money and food? How do you justify it rationally? How does it fit into the ethics system? So then I go through different ways of looking at it, but I ultimately demonstrate that there's a lot of intuition when it comes to these factors, and people do get heated about this stuff. Or
Huh.
I also try to demonstrate that everybody. Here's a good example. Like I try to demonstrate that everybody's a little bit unethical to some degree. So the example that I use is speeding. So I ask the audience members, like, do you ever speed? And almost everybody says yes. There's always like, if I have a huge course, there's always like one person that says I never speed. I doubt that, but I ask you, do you speed? And then people say yes. And then I ask, okay, like, when do you slow down? And like, what's the number that you've chosen? So people usually come up with a number like 10 miles over. Then I slow down and then I ask for rationalization. Like, why did you pick that number? So people say I go with the flow of traffic, or I'm a safe driver, or cops won't pull me over. So I try to demonstrate from that example that we're all unethical. Why? Because ultimately the goal of a speed limit is to protect society, because people aren't as safe as drivers when they drive over the speed limit. It also lessens the injuries, that you cause. But yet, so if you really cared about society, which is an ethical good, you would never speed. But we have this gut sense, we have this intuition that it's okay, either because like other people are doing it, or we just feel like it's okay to do. And then we rationalize after the fact, oh, because cops don't pull you over, so it must not be so bad, or I'm a really good speeder. So we rationalize, sorry, not speeder, I'm a really good driver. So we rationalize after the fact as to why it's okay to do so. So
Right.
we're all like somewhat. Then I ask them the question, like, I'm not like endorsing this, but I'll ask, okay, let's say you saw a colleague that was cutting like a minute or two off a visit, but they were billing for that 2 minutes. Like, let's say a colleague was billing for a 30-minute visit, if that's how your billing system worked, but they were only doing 29 minutes or 28 minutes. Would you speak to them about it? Would you report them? So I don't give an answer, because obviously, if you were like 100% ethical, you would say, of course, I'll report them if they do 29-minute visits and they're billing for 30-minute visits. But I think there's this intuition like speeding that, no, like if it's 2 minutes, it's not such a big deal. If it's 3 minutes, it's not such a big deal. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that we all have like gray aspects. So my ethics course is basically just exploring our grays when it comes to ethical decision making, where they are, and how we rationalize and justify different decision making processes.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.